Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast in Australia. Well, here in Australia, we're gearing up for what's known as the State of Origin. It's our big football match. It's not our grand final, but it's a big one between the states, and it all depends on which state you were born in for who you barrack for, and it's sort of, it pits families against families, and it's a very exciting time. So I'm going for New South Wales. That's where I was born, so go the Blues. So anyway, this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Four of Pentacles. Now, look, the Four of Pentacles is money improvements. Now, I don't know anybody on the planet that wouldn't like that card to come out in a reading. Money improvements, more money coming your way. What a wonderful start to the week. If we could all have a little bit more money trickling into our bank account or into our purses, it'd be very, very nice. It's also the card of sort of, when you look at it very carefully, he's sitting on money, he's holding money, he has money on top of his head. So money's not the greatest issue to this person sitting in the card. It's saying to you that there is opportunities there for money improvements. You've just got to look around, and sometimes it's just as simple as taking a little bit of stock of your life, of stop, look and listen and sort of see how you're spending money. Are you wasting money in some ways? That could give you some money improvements if you stopped wasting money. If you cut back on a couple of little luxuries, that gives you a few more dollars in your pocket for the week, that you might be able to pay down a credit card or pay off some sort of bill or go towards something special. So sometimes it's not even about extra money coming in. It can be about us being more careful with our money and looking at ways that we can make our dollars stretch further. And that's one of the big things around the world at the moment. Everybody's feeling the financial strain with so much uncertainty and wars and everything looming in the background, that we all want to make sure that we're as financially secure as we possibly can be. And that sometimes, asks us to sort of reevaluate our budgets. When I see this card come out in a reading, I don't only think of more money coming in, I think of, is it time to sit down and rework the budget? Have a good look at where your spending's going, how much you're spending. Are you really sort of getting, value out of your weekly shop? Things like this. So it's a card of asking you to sort of be a little bit more conscious of your money, and that way then you'll have a little bit more money in your pocket to do the things that you really want to do, and not always feel that your money's just always going out on commitments and bills and utility bills and electricity bills and phone bills and this bill and that bill, that you can have something there a little bit ready left over for you. So this week, astrologically, we've got a big shift this week that I'm going to talk about a little bit further down in the report. But so it's happy birthday to all the Cancerians. And look, I know the producer of our show had a birthday yesterday, and he was 21 again, like me. So that's good. It's a very special time of the year for Cancers, because it is their birthday month. And it's been a big year for a lot of them because they've been going through some sort of changes. They're getting stronger, and it's a very unestimated sign. A lot of people look at Cancers and they say, oh, they're very soft and they're pliable and they seem to walk sideways to go forwards. Well, yes, all of that's true, but at the same time, they can be incredibly powerful, incredibly strong, and incredibly determined, because you've got to think of a crab. A crab doesn't always have a soft shell. It can have an incredibly hard shell, and they take their house with them. And when I first got into astrology, which was a very, very, very long time ago, and one of my children is a Cancer, it made sense to me when I read that a Cancer, when they go away on holidays, they like to take some home comforts with them. They like to take their house with them. And I chuckled to myself, because the first thing that my child would do was, if we were going on a road trip or going to stay somewhere overnight or on holidays, they would pack all their possessions, or as many as they could fit in the car that mum and dad would allow them to take. And I chuckled to myself, because my other child is not a Cancer, didn't have the slightest inclination to pack. Oh, I might take one thing, maybe my favourite pillow, but that was about it. But this particular child used to want to take everything. She could take if they could take the kitchen sink, I'm sure they would have. So that's just a little bit of insight about Cancers. So happy birthday to all the Cancers. It's a big time of the year. Go out, strut your stuff. Everything's really important in your life at the moment. Well, so while we're talking about Cancer, we also have Jupiter, the planet of luck and opportunity, sitting in Cancer. We'll be there for about another 8 or 9 months. So make sure that you make the most of this. Jupiter only sits in a sign for approximately 12 months. It's your time to shine. Now, it's not necessarily the time when you're going to, win mega money on the lotteries or the pools or anything like that, but it's a time when you can get out there and strut your stuff, show the world what you're made of. If you're looking for a new job or you're looking for new opportunities, this is the time for you, Cancer. It's a time when everything can expand right out, And by that, you have to be careful that you can have an expanding waistline too. This is not the time to indulge in too many sweet treats. You can have a little bit, but don't overdo it, because Jupiter also expands waistlines as well as wallets. So, it's a very important time. And I know I have lots of Cancerian friends and family that are looking to make changes this year, and are sort of saying that they feel very motivated, they feel very ready, or have been working diligently towards the changes that they're trying to bring in their lives. And for other people, it's just an expansion of what they've already got, that they already feel that they're in the right direction, they're on the right path. It's just a matter of expanding out, and sort of people are starting to take notice of them. So that's a good thing too. So we have Uranus, the planet of the unusual and unexpected, and this is the big announcement, has just moved into Gemini. After sitting in Taurus for just over 8 years, Uranus is going to be sitting in Gemini now for approximately 8 years. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, Uranus only moves into a sign once every 84 years. So for a lot of us, we don't actually get a Uranus return, as it's known, where Uranus comes back to sit on top of Uranus in our own chart in our lifetime, unless we live to be over 84 years of age. So this is a monumental change. So how is this going to affect us? So we're going to be looking predominantly at the air signs, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, the opposite sign of Sagittarius, but it is also going to wash over the remaining 8 signs. Now, Uranus is the planet of the unusual, the unexpected. I like to refer to it as being like a bolt of lightning. It strikes the ground, it's sudden, it's deliberate, it's definite. It's not something that we can always predict. Now, with it being in Gemini, Gemini is the energy of local environment, of being a little bit like a sticky beak, wanting to know what's going on in the local area. It's about communication. It's about, flitting like a butterfly from one flower to another. Not necessarily a lot of stability there, but it's the ideas. It's the things that can come into your mind out of nowhere. So we need Gemini energy in our lives, because we need to not become stagnant and sort of weighed down with things where, things have always got to be practical and logical and slow and deliberate and definite, like the sign that it's just come out of. So Uranus did not feel comfortable in Taurus, because Uranus wanted to come in and shake everything up and be the sudden disruptor. And Taurus liked everything practical, logical, slow. Let's slow it right down. Let's take our time. Let's make sure these things are happening for the right reasons. So now that it's moving into Gemini, it's sort of got a bit of momentum going here. Now, the last time Uranus was in Gemini was around the time of World War II. It was a time of great communications, different ways of how the war was won, with different forms of communication coming in. We can only look to history to see, to gain some sort of insight of how this might affect us. Now, it's interesting that, our world is moving so fast, and particularly technology and the way that we approach things. And I know the world's sort of leaning towards artificial intelligence at the moment. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm still on the fence with this, because I just sort of feel, as much as it's a great tool, I think it's taking away from human beings having to think and sort of be able to put things in a sentence and write a story, or, use their own brain power. Is it going to make us too lazy? I don't know. It's something that, each person will have a different opinion on how it affects their lives or how they feel about it. So I think we're going to be in for some very exciting times in the next 8 years, as we see Uranus work its way through Gemini. But also don't forget, because Uranus is in Gemini, which is an air sign, it's going to be trining or making some really nice aspect to Pluto sitting in Aquarius, and particularly in this first 12 to 18 months, where they will be making this really nice trine. We're going to see things going to happen out of nowhere, things that people weren't expecting. People would say, oh, okay, yeah, look, that was maybe on the cards, but I didn't quite really see it until it actually happened. So we need to be very consciously aware of different conversations that are going to take place around the world. Yes, there may be some breakthroughs. Yes, we might see the end to some of these trouble spots in the world very, very suddenly, by people intervening or making suggestions. And it may not even be the ones that we think that it's going to be. It may not be the prominent people or the people that are the newsmakers. It may very, very very well be somebody simple, somebody off the street, somebody that nobody's ever heard of, that is the one that brings the deals to peace. We don't know yet. We're only guessing at what can sort of happen, but it will be based on communication. It will be based on things that are unusual and different. Things will happen very quickly. It'll be like the bolt of lightning. It'll come out of nowhere. My suggestion is, if you're a Gemini, work with the energy. If you start to feel restless and uncomfortable, start to look at what in your life might need to change. Be very, very careful if you're a Gemini, particularly. Don't have what I term as verbal diarrhea. Don't say, oh, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job. And then all of a sudden you've lost your job because you've sent it out to the universe that you didn't want it. Yes, we can all get cross and get cranky and frustrated with things, and you might be having a bad day and saying, oh, I really hate this. But then sort of turn around and back it up with, I might hate it for the moment, but I'm really grateful that I've got it, so that, that you're not sending out, because the universe only hears this is what you hate it, and it thinks, oh, well, I'll take that away from them. They don't want that anymore. Instead of sort of, the universe doesn't understand it's coming from a place of frustration, not necessarily from a place of change. So be very, very careful how you communicate, particularly if you're a Gemini, and not just this week. I'm talking about for the next 8 years, but particularly right now, it's going to be something that you're going to have to sort of get used to, that how you communicate with yourself and what you complain about and what you talk to others about, because the universe is listening, and it may just very well, Uranus might just kick in and take it away from you, and you certainly don't want that. So it's a really important time to sort of understand how Uranus works. We'll be talking about it a lot more on the show over the next 8 years, I'm sure. So Uranus is also conjunct or holding hands Venus, the planet of love and affection, and in the chart at the moment. So obviously, yes, it's going to be affecting Geminis, Libra, Aquarius, the opposite sign of Sagittarius, but it also flows through and it affects each and every other sign. So if you are looking for love, with it conjunct or holding hands with Uranus here, it's asking you to look in unusual places. Step out of your comfort zone. If you always only go to the same thing and do the same sort of activities week in, week out, shake it up a little bit, take up something new, go to a ball game, go to a football match, go to a tennis match, go skin diving, go to the ballet, do something different, because it's really important that you need to step out of your comfort zone. But it's also asking you to look at it in your own environment. Don't sort of pack your bags and take a trip across the country and expect to find love there. Love will probably be more likely to be on your doorstep or in your own local environment, because we've got Gemini involved here. And particularly if you can go to something that is connected with communication, whether it's a lecture or somebody giving an address, or you're going to a concert, or you're going to a pantomime or a show, a stage play, something where people are communicating, is more likely to be where you're going to find love. Now, we also have the moon, which moves very quickly, moves every 48 hours, 36 to 48 hours into a new sign, is actually conjunct or holding hands the part of fortune. And the part of fortune is not a planet, it's one of the Arabian parts. And it's saying to all of us that this is where we can find our peace. This is where we can find our fortune in ourselves at the moment. We can find some sort of emotional peace. Yes, the moon and the part of fortune are sitting in Sagittarius at the moment, but it is also affecting predominantly the other fire signs, which is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Gemini. But it is washing over the remaining 8 signs too. So it's telling us that there can be a little bit of peace there. We could have this really enthusiastic drive to sort of get out there and sort of make things happen in our lives. It's not going to be with us for much more than about 12 hours. So make the most of this energy. So if you're feeling fired up and positive and you want to get up off the couch and do something, now's the time to do it. It's really important. So Mercury is sitting in Leo at the moment. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication, and it's something that we need to sort of talk about quite often, is the fact that we are able to sort of communicate, and we need to communicate in a very forthright sort of manner. So I'm going to ask you to be very, very careful with your communication, that you're not sort of becoming bossy and bombastic and sort of becoming a little bit too over the top when you're starting to communicate with people. Yes, Mercury's sitting in Leo, so this is sort of like, I want to get out there and do it in a proud, dramatic way. But it is not just affecting Leos and not just affecting the fire signs of Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries, and the opposite sign of Aquarius. It's also washing over the rest of us. So if you've got something important to say, or you're having a conversation with a loved one, make sure that you're not being bossy and dogmatic and bombastic. Make sure that you've got your listening ears on and you're listening to what they have to say as well, because what they have to contribute to the conversation is equally as important as what you're trying to share with them. That's where we're going to leave the astrology for this week. We're going to talk with Karen now in Castro Valley in California. That sounds really nice, Karen. How are you today?
Very nice, Miss Amanda. Thank you for asking.
Good. So Castro Valley just sounds amazing. I mean, is it a beautiful place to live?
Well, I'm part of the San Francisco Bay Area, and so, yeah, actually
Right.
it is.
Wonderful. Okay, so how can I help you today? Do you have a question I can answer for you, Karen?
I'm looking at what my future holds. I've been dipping and dabbing in and out of employment opportunities since I got laid off from COVID, and I'm looking for what my next steps might look like.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. COVID seems to be such a long way ago now, but for a lot of people it isn't, is it? Because it's still interfering and affecting their lives. First thing that was showing me as you were talking to me, Karen, was that you have been through a number of endings, changes, and transformations. But through this, I think there's also been a tremendous amount of growth that you wouldn't have had time to do, I think, because your life was so busy and there wasn't enough time to sort of stand still and take stock of anything previously prior to COVID. So in some ways, whether COVID had happened or not, I think there would have been a shift in your life. You may not necessarily have lost your job, but there may have been a shift in your life or something else that would have come along that would have made you slow down a little bit so that you could take stock and start to look at where things are. It's interesting because they're showing me a new job, but they're showing me a job that starts in a different sort of way. Most people think, oh, well, I apply for a job, I get, go to the interview and I get the job and then I start. This is sort of something that's going to start with only a couple of days a week or something that's a temporary situation and you think, oh, do I really want to take that? Is it going to limit my opportunities of getting more regular sort of work by taking this? It's sort of like somebody's offering you something like might be temporary work for a month and you think, well, yeah, that'd be nice for a month, but what behind it? I'm going to say to you, if the job feels that alluring and feels that comfortable, even if it is only short term, take it, because I feel it's going to lead towards a more permanent role. It's not as if they don't want to offer you a permanent role. At the time, they're just looking to have somebody fill in. Maybe somebody's off sick or on maternity leave or something like that. You fill in on the role and you actually get offered a position before this comes to an end. And because they're so impressed with what you've done, they make room for you within the company, which will give you that opportunity to sort of get back into regular income and really strut your stuff and show the world what you're made of. And that's good. And I'm going to say it's not out of your comfort zone. It's not out of the type of work that you've done in the past, but it's got a fresh approach to it. And it's sort of, I feel really quite comfortable and excited about it. Have you just moved house too, Karen?
No, I haven't.
But have you made some changes to the house or something? Yeah, because to me, I could feel change around the house, and it was like I was going to say, that's the start of this. Whether it's, you've cleaned things out or you've moved the couch around or whatever, to me, that change was sort of showing the universe.
I've done that. It's almost like late spring cleaning.
Yeah, but it was like the universe was now sort of listening to you and saying, well, okay, she's made those sort of changes. She must be ready for change in her life, which is good. So they were showing me on the timeline, I think this job could, maybe only weeks away. I don't think it's months away. And again, I want to stress, I think it only starts out as a temporary position or a fill-in position, and you're questioning whether or not that's the right thing to do, because is it holding you up from getting a more permanent gig? I'm going to say if it feels right, take it, because to me it is leading to that. But, you haven't done anything wrong. It's just that the universe wasn't sort of accommodating and sort of saying it was time to get you back into the full-time swing of things. It was like we needed to work through some other things. And now you feel very rested on every level, that you're ready to take the world by storm again, Karen, and that's great.
Yeah, I'm kind of chomping at the bit.
Yeah, you are. You're ready now. You're not tired anymore. You're ready, and that's good. And this next job, you'll be there for a very long time. So, Karen, that's where we've got to leave it. I hope that was of some help to you.
Yes, Miss Amanda, thank you, and many blessings to you.
Many blessings to you too, Karen, and I'll look that up after the show where Castro Valley is. It just sounds really beautiful. Anyway, we're going to talk with Anna now in Calgary in Alberta in Canada, and I'm sure Calgary is just as beautiful in its own way. Anna, how are you? Hello, Anna.
Are you talking to
Hello,
me?
Anna. Yes, I am, Anna. How are you?
No, my name is Tanya.
Oh, Tanya. Oh, okay. On my screen, it's got Anna, so I apologise. So you're in Calgary?
No, I'm in Grandview, Manitoba.
Oh, I apologise. I've got different information on my screen. Well, okay. How can we? My producer's just saying, "Oops." So, Tanya, how can we help you today, sweetie? Well, excuse me. He had a birthday yesterday, so he's getting a bit long in the tooth now. He's 21. Do you have a question I can answer for you, Tanya?
No, I was just I didn't know you were going to ask me that. I just a question maybe about.
Well, usually people come to the show because they've got something on their mind, something they want answered. That's why I always ask you have a question. So I'd rather answer what you want to know rather than just you say I want a general reading and it could take us in a direction that wasn't why you phoned into the show.
Okay, maybe I would love to know about the future of my relationship, my current relationship.
Okay, can you just share with me that person's first initial? I don't need their name so that the rest of the world knows who they are.
No problem. D.
Okay, thank you. Really, really interesting. Has that person been through a lot of changes recently? Because I'm picking up a lot of change that's been going on around them, and it's like I feel really tired. It's like I want to go sit on the couch and just flop and sort of, regather my energy, regather my strength to sort of ready to go again. Because I feel with them that they certainly feel very connected to you, but I don't know that they've put enough effort in, is what I'm going to say. And I'm going to bring that back to all the other things that they've had to deal with or work through in their life, have sort of not so much taken first place, but have taken a lot of their attention and their energy. And it's like now we're almost at the end of that this particular person can now start to focus on the here and now with you and where the situation is going with you. I know they feel incredibly comfortable, but at the same time, they're sort of a little bit nervous about what you want from the connection as well. It's sort of like, yes, you have talked about it, but you've danced around the edges. Neither one of you have really sort of opened up and said, this is what I'm looking for, or this is what I expect. So that opportunity is going to come soon where I think there's going to be some open discussions about where we go from here. Would it be fair to say that this person isn't the greatest in sort of explaining their emotions or telling you how they feel?
Yeah.
Because I sort of feel as if it's like pulling teeth. I get a little bit and then it's sort of like it stops and I've got to go again and try and pull a little bit more information out. Look, we can't change somebody's basic personality because, we are what we are. That's how we're wired. But what I can see over time is this becoming a little bit easier. That, it's more a confidence thing with them that they don't want to make a fool of themselves. What if I say something and she doesn't like it, or she's not ready to hear it, or maybe it's the wrong thing to say, so they say nothing. So it's more we've got to look at the actions. The actions in this situation will speak volumes more so than the words. Look, I know that this person is very connected to you. They feel that, you're the greatest thing that's ever happened to them in their lives. And as these other things in the background sort of wind down more, you're going to find that they're going to be talking more about when we do this and when we do that. And it's sort of like, oh, okay, well, that's never been discussed. And it's not necessarily is it going to be discussed. It's just going to be a natural progression, if that makes any sense. I know that they feel very connected to you, and in their way of looking at things, they believe that you two are starting to build something really special and build a future together. So I hope that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, we all have different ways of expressing ourselves. And I mean, I'm sure there's things that you've gone to say and thought, oh, no, maybe it's not the right time, or I shouldn't do that, or it sounds stupid now. It sounded good in my head yesterday, but today it doesn't. All those sort of things. And particularly when you've been through life, you sometimes lose your confidence a little bit about opening up and sharing with someone else how you feel. it's not always an easy thing, is it?
No, it's very hard for the both of us, actually. So,
Yeah, and that's what I mean. You're both very well suited in that way. And it's sort of like, look, I see over time that sort of coming away, little crumb at a time, a crumb here, a bit of a brick there, and whatever, and it will become easier. But the two of you are very, very well suited. And it's interesting because I don't think either one of you have had an easy journey before you met each other. And it's like two sort of broken souls were attracted together, and somehow or another we're making each other complete. But I mean that in the most positive of ways. It's not, two broken people just sort of trying to make one out of two broken souls. No, the two of you are becoming two complete souls as individuals, and then come together, and it's even more powerful as the union becomes stronger between the two of us. And it's wonderful. The other person is a really, really nice person, and they wouldn't do anything intentionally to hurt you, sweetie. So I hope that's helped you. And I do apologise for the wrong information on my screen. So have a great
that's so different.
So have a great time. It's lovely to talk with you. We've come to the end of the show again. I mean, the show moves around very, very quickly, and it's always wonderful to connect with people from many different parts of the world. As usual, I always leave you with a song, and it's not always a song that's particularly a favourite of mine, or it might be something that's come to me during the week, or something I've heard, or I scroll through my list of music, and I have very varied taste in music. I have my couple of favourites, of course, as we all do. But I go with what sort of jumps out at me, or what's been driving me nuts for the last few days before the show. And I always find that there is some sort of theme to it, or something that sort of means something as the show goes on, that we find that the song is very, Spirit has just brought it to us because it's meant to be. And this week I want to leave you with a very old song by the Foundations, and it's called Baby Now That I Have You. And I think that's very appropriate for what we've just been talking with our last customer, our last caller, was the fact that they found somebody special in their lives, and they're trying to build a relationship. So this is a really appropriate song for them. Baby Now That I've Found You by the Foundation. So until next week, go the Mighty Blues. I'll be sitting up till quite late tonight watching the football and cheering on my team. Look, no matter who wins the state of origin here in Australia, we'll all have a good time, and we'll all still be Australians tomorrow. So until next week, Baby Now That I've Found You by the Foundations.